Pippi sits on the gate and climbs a tree. Outside Villa Cooler Cottage sat Pippi, Tommy, and Anika. Pippi sat on one gatepost, Anika sat on the other gatepost, and Tommy sat on the gate. It was a warm and beautiful day towards the end of August. A pear tree which grew by the gate stretched its branches so far down that the children could sit and pick the ripest little yellow-red August pears with no trouble at all. They nibbled and munched and spat the pear pits out onto the road. Villa Cooler Cottage lay just where the little town ended and the countryside began, where the street turned into the country road. The townspeople liked to go for walks out Villa Cooler Way, for it was there the most beautiful surroundings lay. While the children sat there eating pears, a girl came by on the road from the town. When she saw the children, she stopped and asked, "Have you seen my father pass by?" "I don't know," said Pippi. "What did he look like? Did he have blue eyes?" "Yes," said the girl. "Black hat and black shoes?" "Yes, exactly," said the girl eagerly. "No, we haven't seen anyone like that," said Pippi definitely. The girl looked disappointed and went on without a word. "Ahoy there!" Pippi shouted after her. "Was he bald?" "No, not in the least," said the girl angrily. "That's a bit of good luck for him," said Pippi and spat out a pear pit. The girl hurried on, but then Pippi yelled, "Did he have uncommon big ears which reached all the way down to his shoulders?" "No," said the girl, and then turned about astonished. "You don't mean to have you seen a man walk by with ears as big as that?" "I've never seen anyone walk with his ears," said Pippi. "Everyone I know walks with his feet." "Oof, but you're silly. I mean, have you really seen a man with ears that big?" "No," said Pippi. "There isn't anybody with ears that big. Why, that would be absurd. How would it look? One simply can't have such big ears." "At least not in this country," she added after a moment's thought. "In China it's a little different. Once I saw a Chinaman in Shanghai. His ears were so big he could use them for a raincoat. When it rained he just crept in after his ears and was warm and snug as he could be. Not that the ears had such a good rattling good time of it. You understand. If it was especially bad weather, he'd invite friends and acquaintances to pitch camp under his ears too." There they sat, singing the sorrowful songs while it poured down outside. They thought a lot of him because of his ears. Hai Sung was his name. You should have seen Hai Sung running to his work in the morning. He always came dragging along the last minute because he liked sleeping late so much. You can't imagine how lovely he looked when he came running along with his ears like two big yellow sails behind him. The girl had stopped and now stood with open mouth listening to Pippi and Tommy and Anika, had quite forgotten about eating more pears. They were busy enough just listening. He had children, then you could count the smallest one, called Peter, said Pippi. "Yes, but a Chinese child can't be called Peter," objected Tommy. "That's just what his wife told him too. A Chinese child can't be called Peter," she said. "But Hai Sung was most awfully stubborn, and then he said that the baby would either be called Peter or else nothing at all. And then he sat down in a corner and pulled his ears over his head and just sulked, and so his wife kept giving in, of course. And the child was called Peter." "Oh, indeed," said Anika. It was the hardest child to be found in old Shanghai," continued Pippi. "So fussy was food that his mother was quite unhappy. You probably know they eat bird nests in China. Well, they sat mother with a whole plate full of bird nests to feed him. 'So, little Peter,' she said, 'now we'll eat a great big bite of bird's nest just for Daddy.' But Peter only just clamped his lips together and shook his head. In the end, Hai Sung was so angry that he had no new food He said no new food should be made for Peter before he eaten the bird's nest just for Daddy, and when Hai Sung said a thing, it was so. The same bird nests were sent in and out of the kitchen from May till October. On the 14th of July, the mother asked, couldn't you please give Peter a meat pie? But Hai Sung said no. Nonsense, said the girl on the road. Just what Hai Sung said, continued Pippi. Nonsense, he'd say. There's no reason why a child can't eat bird nest if he only stops being contrary. But Peter just clapped his lips together the whole time from May till October. Yes, but how could he live then? Said Tommy in amazement. He couldn't live, said Pippi. He died of contrariness the 13th of October and buried the 19th. And on the 20th, a swallow fell in through the window and laid an egg in the bird's nest that stood on the table. So it didn't go to waste anyway. No harm done, said Pippi gaily. Then she gazed thoughtfully at the girl who stood in the road, looking simply bewildered. How odd you look, said Pippi. Just why that now? You don't think, do you, that I'm sitting here telling untruths? What's that? Just say so in case, threatened Pippi, and rolled up her sleeves. No, not at all, said the girl in alarm. I wouldn't say you're telling untruths exactly, no, but... No, not at all, said Pippi. But that's just what I am doing. I'm telling fibs till my tongue's getting black. Can't you see? Do you really believe a child can live without food from May till October? Of course, I know well that they can manage nicely without food 3 or 4 months. But from May till October, why, that's silly. You certainly ought to know that that ain't the truth. You should let people make you believe just anything you like. Then the girl went her way and didn't once turn round again. How simple people can be, said Pippi to Tommy and Anika. From May till October, why, that's just so silly. Then she yelled off the girl, No, we haven't seen any bolt-ons around all day. Maybe yesterday 17 of them went by arm in arm. Pippi's orchard was really delightful. It wasn't well looked after, to be sure, but there were lovely stretches of grass which were never cut, and old rose bushes full of white and yellow and pink roses. They were not particularly fine roses, perhaps, but sweetly scented. Quite a number of fruit trees grew there too, and best of all, some old oaks and elms which were perfect for climbing. Climbing trees were sadly lacking in Tommy and Nika's orchids, but their mother was always rather afraid they would fall down and hurt themselves. For this reason, they haven't done very much climbing in their day. But now Pippi said, What about climbing up in that oak over there? Tommy jumped down from the gate at once, delighted with that suggestion. Anika was rather doubtful, but when she saw there were big bumps on the trunk, the one she could climb on, she thought it would be fun to try. A few yards from the ground, the oak divided into 2 branches. Where it divided, it was just a little root. It wasn't long before 3 children sat there.